Have you ever heard of a book that's just as likely to be on a CEO's bookshelf as it is on a prisoner's nightstand? A book that gets celebrated, banned, and whispered about all at the same time? Okay, let's dive into this thing. Robert Greene's The 48 Laws of Power. Today, we're going to break down what makes this manual on manipulation so magnetic, so controversial, and for a whole lot of people, so necessary.
First off, let's just get a sense of the scale here. We're not talking about some niche cult classic. We're talking about a global phenomenon. Over 25 million people have read this book. I mean, that's practically an army of readers, all looking to get a handle on the dynamics of power. It's a huge number, and it tells you that whether you've read it or not, its ideas are out there, shaping the world around you.
To really get the 48 Laws, you gotta see it as a kind of sequel to Machiavelli's The Prince. This is not a feel-good book about teamwork. Nope, it's a cold, hard look at power as a game with rules that have been played for centuries in royal courts, in boardrooms, and in back alleys. And this book, it claims to be the playbook.
So what are these rules, exactly? Well, the book is basically a collection of 48 maxims. Each one is like a strategic weapon, and it's backed up with historical stories of people who used it and won, and people who ignored it and got crushed. Some are super pragmatic, some are creative, and some are just downright brutal. Let's take a look. Okay, here's a classic. Think about Galileo. Instead of getting into endless arguments with the church about whether the Earth revolved around the sun, he just built a better telescope and said, hey, look for yourselves. He didn't debate, he demonstrated. And that just flips the whole idea of power on its head, right? It's not about who has the loudest voice. It's about who has the most undeniable proof. It's all about showing, not telling. And then you get to laws like this one. It doesn't say outmaneuver your enemy. It doesn't say find a compromise. It says crush them. Totally. And this is where you start to see the book's cold, amoral, strategic heart. The argument is that if you leave an enemy with even a little bit of hope, a little resource, they will come back for revenge. So the advice is simple and chilling. Finish the job. This law is all about being decisive. You know, when the Spanish conquistador, Hernán Cortés, landed in Mexico, he was facing the entire Aztec Empire. So what did he do? He burned his own ships. There was no going back. It was either victory or death. By taking away his own escape route, he forced himself and his men into a state of 100% commitment. As the law says, being hesitant just creates doubt, but being bold, that inspires awe. And this brings us to one of the most cunning laws in the whole book. See, a single big gesture of goodwill can totally disarm even your most paranoid enemy. For 10 years, the walls of Troy were unbeatable. Brute force just wasn't working, but one amazing gift made the Trojans drop their guard completely. The lesson here is that a single act of honesty or a single act of generosity can be the perfect Trojan horse to hide what you're really up to. So, yeah. After hearing just a few of those laws, you can probably see why this book is so incredibly divisive. And that gets us to the big debate. Is this thing a masterclass in strategy, or is it just a handbook for being a terrible person? You don't have to look far to see this split. Go online, and you'll find someone praising it as an essential guide for life. And right next to it, someone will be calling it a guide on how to be a phony psychopath. One side sees a roadmap to success and self-defense, the other sees a recipe for toxicity. People either love this book or they absolutely hate it. There's not a lot of in between. And that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? The laws seem to straight up encourage being deceitful and ruthless. So is the book's massive audience just a bunch of aspiring sociopaths? Or is there another way to look at all this? To get a clearer picture, I think it helps to hear from the author himself. Robert Greene has talked a lot about what he was trying to do, and his perspective, well, it adds this really fascinating layer to the whole debate. He basically reframes the book not as a weapon for attack, but as a tool for self-awareness. And here it is. This is Greene's big idea. He argues that for most of us, the real enemy isn't some other person, it's our own fear. You know, we're afraid of being criticized, we're afraid of failing. So for him, the book isn't about becoming some kind of monster. It's about getting over that timidity and learning to act with purpose and boldness in a world that, let's face it, often rewards that. Greene's whole argument is that the world is a strategic place. Whether we like it or not, people wear masks. They hide what they really want. And just ignoring that doesn't make it go away. It just makes you naive. It makes you vulnerable.
From his point of view, understanding power isn't cynical, it's a basic survival skill.
And this leads to this really powerful way of looking at it, one that a lot of readers have adopted. They don't use the book as a how-to guide for manipulating others. No, they use it as a field guide to recognize when they're being manipulated. It's like learning how a virus works, so you know how to protect yourself. As one reader put it, it prepares you for what other people might try to do to you.
So, when you strip away all the controversy, all the hype, what's the ultimate lesson of the 48 Laws of Power? Well, it seems to boil down to one key skill that's bigger than just playing offense or defense. The book's core belief is this: power is a social reality. It's a game being played all around you all the time. You can choose to ignore the rules, sure, but you're still in the game. The only difference is you'll be a pawn, getting moved around by other people, instead of being a player who has some control over their own destiny. Which brings us to what might be the book's ultimate philosophy on how to actually use power. It's not about being a bully. It's about strategy, it's about subtlety, and it's about understanding what makes people tick. True power is that iron hand, but it's hidden inside a velvet glove. In the end, the 48 Laws of Power is kind of like a mirror. Whether you look at it and see a dark instruction manual for sociopaths or an essential guide for self-defense, well, that probably says more about how you see the world than it does about the book itself. And that leaves us with the final question. Is power just a cynical game to be won, or is it a fundamental force of human nature that we just have to try and understand? The answer, just like the game itself, is up to you.